I'm bookseller Mallory Rochester, and I'm very excited today to be in conversation with Erin White. Erin is an essayist and the author of the memoir Given Up for You, and today we're here to talk about her debut novel, Like Family. Like Family is the story of a circle of people that is dramatically messy, but we're exploring love and history and the choices we make. And it's also Barnes and Noble's November book club pick. Erin, welcome. We're so
Thank you
excited to
so
have you.
much, Mallory. I'm thrilled to be here.
This is so exciting. I have to tell you, this book resonated with me so much as a mother, as a human, um, just, really taking in and picking our family, the chosen family, the people that we choose to surround ourselves with every single day. So, what sparked this for you?
Well, I'm so glad it resonated with you. I know that what one of the things that it did spark actually is the idea that this is the way that so many of us live our lives,
Yeah.
which is in a group of people that is a combination of people that were related to by blood and people who we have chosen to sort of be a part of our families and the people that we spend our time with. In so many ways, I wanted to write a big kind of messy American domestic novel that was really about the way that families live now. And the way that what it means to be a family, as it always, it's sort of changed and evolved over time. And in our current moment, it includes a lot of different, oftentimes quite complicated constellations and relationships.
That it really does. And then choosing our family, because, not everybody has the traditional family anymore, right? We choose the people that we want to surround ourselves with, our children with, who are they going to learn from, all of those things. So in this, everything gets very messy once we learn what the secret is at the beginning of the book. Basically, that's Sita had a biological father that wasn't chosen from a sperm donor. Oh, wait, I'm so sorry. I didn't tell everybody there were going to be spoilers. I'm so sorry. This is a spoiler. This is not a spoiler free event, you guys. I'm so sorry I didn't say that out loud.
We're
As
going
I
to
just
spoil everything.
we're gonna spoil everything for you. So sorry. Um, Introduce us to a few of your characters. Give us a little bit of backstory, and then let's elaborate on it.
Okay, great. So the book takes place in a fictional upstate New York town, which is called Radcliffe, and it centers around the lives of three couples. The first of them are a married couple, two women who have four children and live on a small farm, sort of what we would think of as like a gentleman's farm, but I think of it as a gentlewoman's farm, outside of the main town. And then the other couple is their names are Caroline and Mike. They have one child and they live in town. And then the third couple they're a married couple, also two women who own a kind of viral artisan pottery company. And they have twin children who are 5 years old, who were conceived with help from their cousin Mike, who's Carolyn's husband, who donated sperm to them. So it's three couples. They're all connected either by friendship or by ties of blood. And it's the story of kind of like what happens to them over the course of time, in particular, after there's a death in their community that has reverberations for all of that.
There's so many different perspectives in this book. You're writing from so many angles, so many generations also. And when Sita makes the discovery that about her biological father, it's devastating for her, but it also creates this giant ripple effect through everybody's lives. And how did you come to navigate that sense of like betrayal for her while keeping it very relatable, because she is a 16-year-old and this is a big change for her.
Right. So what happens what happens in the beginning of the book is what Ruth and Wynn, who are the family who have four children and who live on the farm, have an oldest child whose name is Sita. And her mother, Ruth, gave birth to her before she met her other mother, Wynne. But the story that Sid had always been told was that she was also conceived with an anonymous sperm donor. But that wasn't true. Her mother had had a relationship with someone and gotten pregnant when she was very young, her early 20s. And so what happens is that man dies. And so the fact that he was Sida's father comes to light for her. And as you're saying, creates all of this conflict and this rift in her life. And it was interesting because, I wanted to create a story that was in part about that, but I also wanted it to be about how something even that large, right? Something which is you've discovered you have a father you didn't know, and he's also died, happens in the context of a community that you live in. So even though it's really happening to Sida and her mom, it's also happening to sort of all these other people that are around them because these families are so tightly knit and because it's something that's so big. And so they're all experiencing it and thinking, though, what does this kind of mean for me? Or what am I doing in terms of this experience that this child has had?
I mean, when you're 16 and your parents tell you this, it really just, creates this shaking for her. And then Ruth, or let's go back, I'm so sorry. Her mom, Ruth, is then found, she's holding all of this guilt because not only is she keeping the secret from her daughter, she's also keeping it from Caroline, her best friend. And when all of this happens, everybody's like, how did I not know? How were you carrying this burden? And Ruth, as a mother, she's taking on so much, which I think a lot of moms do. Mm-hmm. There's an emotional labor to everything, and it's heavy, but also relatable. And then she's having to have these difficult conversations, not only with her wife, but everybody else. So how did we come about with the emotional journey that Ruth was going to carry?
I think it's one of those things where, in a constellation of people or in a family, there's always a person who's kind of like an emotional ballast for a lot of other people, kind of like the person that everybody looks to. And when I was thinking about the story, I thought, well, there'll be one person in this sort of constellation who everyone will look to. And I really realized that it was Ruth. And so what I kind of wanted to do in terms of telling a story was to show that, like, a couple of things, to show that that's a heavy burden, as you were saying, to mm-hmm. show that she had a lot to carry. She had a lot to answer to also because of these choices that she made. And she also acts out. And I kind of wanted to show that that's another thing that happens oftentimes when these high stress things happen in a family. Someone's really suffering. It's suffering that you have either inadvertently or directly caused. Mm-hmm. And that causes you oftentimes to not only just like confidently and calmly examine your choices and make the right good decisions. It can also cause you to go a little bonkers, which is what I wanted sort of to happen for Ruth, to show that she too was grieving a man who had died. And she was also grieving the time that she lost when she thought she would always get to that moment when she would tell Sida the truth. So that was always sort of on this ever expanding horizon for Ruth. And once that disappeared, a door really closed for her in terms of,
it was robbed.
Yeah, it was, and it was taken from Sida, but it was also taken from Ruth, and that was painful.
Yeah. So she's the dependable parent. I think that's what we'll all say. There's always one. That's like just what you said.
Right.
In life, they have their moments where she's making the kids a snack, and Wynne is out working, and she's like, go ask your mom. Like, it's an easy distraction piece there, right? Like, go ask mom. Are you that mom, or are you the mom that's going to be like, come on in, let me make you a snack? I think we all have our moments. What are you?
But what's my default mom status?
Yeah.
I mean,
I really want to know.
Yeah, my default mom status is I'm the one who's going to make the snack. I mean, that's kind of the beauty and the curse of being a writer, right? Like, I'm the flexible mom in the family. I'm the one who works at home
You're always there. You're
I'm the
always
one who's always
around.
around.
It's an easy ask. I get
That's
that.
right. I'm an easy ass.
So let's talk about the writing process and the perspectives, because everything is told from an alternative perspective, and then we jump back in history and we relive those moments that are meaningful and life changing. So how did you decide to like whose voice to lead with, um, and whose story really just needed to be focused and told?
So the story has, as you were saying, it has 3 points of view. One of each of those three couples has a point of view. Ruth has the point of view. Ruth is married to Win and they have the 4 children. Caroline has a point of view. She's married to Mike and they have one child, Luca. And then Toby has a point of view. Toby is married to Evie and they have the twins. And I think what I, because what can be so fascinating about people who live in a tight knit constellation, not just in a small town, but in a small grouping of families, is that they experience the same events in different ways. They have different perspectives on the same events. And not only that, they have arguments with each other and then talk about those arguments with other people. So much of life is talking about the people who you love and you are close to, not in a negative way, but in a way of actually trying to understand and make sense of things. And I wanted to really use the multiple points of view to show the ways that people are in and out of each other's lives all the time. And it was fun. I could tell a scene from the perspective of one person, and then I could tell it from the perspective of another person, and you would sort of see what had changed. But I wanted all of them basically for that reason.
There are a lot of blurred lines of this relationship. We've got Ruth and Win, and Ruth is struggling, with her load and also the secret. But then I think motherhood and the grief of everything that's happening, you feel sympathetic for her, but everything is so complex. And then her marriage to Win, who she holds a little bit of resentment for because Win has had everything, provided for her. And whenever she wants something, she gets it very easily. She's a wasp, as she would say. But then we have Mike and Caroline being Ruth's best friend, but Mike then also interweaving his chosen family, which is Toby and Evie. And Toby, this relationship, I think I was caught off guard when I figured out that he was a sperm donor for them. I was like, oh, this is a twist I was not expecting, right? And then Caroline also, she has to struggle with that in her relationship with Mike, knowing that this was a decision that they made that she probably could have said no to, but didn't feel comfortable saying no to at the time, and helping somebody else and their family. But Toby and Mike have a very, very interesting relationship because they really are choosing each other a lot of the time. And maybe not, there's a part at the end where you're talking about, or the therapist is talking about how you can have more than one chosen person. And I thought that was beautiful because so many people play so many different roles in people's lives that even though Mike and Toby have this connection, Caroline is still his person. Evie is still her person. And I just want to talk about that and having a person or more than one. It takes a village.
Totally. A lot of what I was sort of exploring in the book is these ideas of loyalty and
Yeah.
how my characters feel about loyalty and what loyalty means to them in middle age. So because we have these ideas, I think sometimes as younger people that you'll have your friendships, and I think this is a changing, evolving idea, but that you will marry and create a family with someone, and then your loyalties will really close in, and they'll really shift to this community that this tiny family you've created. And the truth is that most of us don't really live that way. The truth is that most of us have people who are outside of the family that we live with who we feel a great amount of loyalty to. And it's really one of those things where abundance is what you're going for. You're not really going for the elevating of one relationship. above all the others, because ultimately life is so complicated. We are without so many of the structures and supports and systems that would help us to live, that help us to live our lives. And we really do depend on other people. And so the people in this book are trying to grapple with that idea of like, I'm going to have to live with my husband's loyalties to other people, when I thought that actually he would marry me and take all of his loyalty and turn it towards me, which is a
Right.
line that's in the book. And Caroline, one of my characters, it is her sort of main struggle to understand that that's not going to happen. And that doesn't mean her husband isn't any less loyal to her, but he is deeply devoted to this woman who is his cousin. And he feels so committed to.
Therapy plays a small role, but a big role also. First of all, I died at her name. I loved it. I was like, this is wonderful. And I love how we have a hyphen. This is it. But Caroline, while exploring, they go because they want to figure out how to talk and how to have a conversation. And then it really becomes, she doesn't address the Luca piece at first, which is their son, and how to bring up the fact that Mike is a sperm donor or a helpful person. But the therapist really takes a role because she makes it okay for Caroline to feel, right? Whether it's her feelings about motherhood or the world. But has therapy played a role in your life in that way?
Oh, yes, for sure. I mean, one of the funny things about this book is that in its first iteration, it was actually a story about three interconnected couples who went to the same couples therapist, and it was called The Couples Therapist. And I gave it to my friend Curtis Sittenfeld, and she was like, she's like, this is amazing, but I think you've got to lose the couples therapist. She's like, it's too complicated. And I was like, I thought that was the whole point. So in that way, I was like, at that point, I had figured out that the therapist played a really important role.
Yeah.
And that there was some ideas, I think the word that I would probably think about is sort of like there was some permission that these two couples, Mike and Caroline, and Toby and Evie, needed to really kind of just let go of some of the shit that they were holding on to. The stuff they were holding on to. And I needed an outside character to do that with them. I needed someone who could sort of see the beauty and the complexity of what they had created and remind them that it was beautiful and complex. And I think every book benefits from a therapist.
I think she does that in such a fun, natural way. And then there are just moments where that it's also just very serious. But she's like, when Caroline discovers, it's like she's making the discovery on the couch where she's about motherhood, and she's like, I really, felt something when I'm creating music, and maybe not as much in my everyday work as a mother, but in the overall, like, Luca's going to be fine.
Yeah.
You're going to be fine. I just need like a third party to let me know that it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I think that was really, really meaningful for me.
And one of the things I wanted to make sure I got into the book, which I think is in one of the chapters, is that, and I think this is so often the case with therapy, is that Caroline goes, she's so overwhelmed. Marcia tells her it's all going to be okay. And when she leaves, she feels so different, but she still has no idea what she's going to do.
I think we all feel that way after a therapy session, though.
Exactly. Honestly, I feel like I had to get that in there. I was like, oh, you definitely feel so much better. But then you're like, wait a second. I don't know at all what I'm going to do next. But sometimes it's a good reminder that it's not about action all the time. Sometimes it's just about your feelings.
It is. Or just talking it out. You know what I mean? Like, or just having somebody to listen and letting you know that you can move on, towards the end.
Totally.
But I think there is a really great moment when then Ruth goes back and she is talking to her old therapist too, Dr. Littman, and she's emailing back. It's so funny because my sister-in-law is a child therapist, and I was like, can she do this? Like, is she allowed to go back and talk to her therapist? And she was like, yes, she gave her permission. I was like, I need to know. Um, but Ruth is, when they're communicating, the doctor tells Ruth, because Ruth loses her mom when she's a child, and she's like, but you have a mom, right? To remember that, like, and then she says, like, I'm going to quote you. I believe now that mothers are subject to the laws of time and space, but I think us mothers, but I don't think us mothers go anywhere, right?
Right.
And I was so moved by that because whether it's a mom and or a father in this point, like you always have one regardless if they are there in that moment. And to quote WandaVision, it is love preserving. Grief is love preserving.
Absolutely.
Um, and so many of your characters are grieving not people, but lives and moments and their histories or what they maybe had at certain moments. Um, and, you know, as mothers, little kids' childhoods. So I I don't know. That quote about moms though, and the way we struggle and how you always have one just was so it warmed my heart.
I'm so glad. I
It was a
think
good go ahead.
I think middle age, the one of the main tasks of middle age is making friends, not making friends with, but maybe making friends with, really becoming well acquainted with grief because it is at this moment of early middle age, which when my book is like my characters are in their early 40s, when really you understand that grief is a human experience on the regular. And
For
that once you
everybody.
come to a certain age, you are grieving things lost all the time. And the more that you can make friends with that and make space for it and understand those things that don't, that do stay with you, then I
Mm-hmm.
think you sort of move through the next few decades of your life in a different way. But, it's just the losses just pile up.
They do. They do. Um, so we also have Toby and Evie, right? And
Yes.
Toby's journey with her gender identity is tender and it's so complex. And to approach this, um, generally through, I think, how do we tell this story with them from different generations of queer people and the acceptance through society, through those generations? Because you're telling it, and she's very caught up on the fact that she's 50.
Yeah.
And like, maybe it wasn't accepted to have top surgery back when I was 20, but maybe I can do this for me now.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I
that,
think there's
go ahead.
such an interesting question, and and this is something that I was really captivated by and wanted to write about in this book. But I think there's such an interesting question about when you're part of the queer community, or any kind of group that has experienced oppression through the generations. Then I think there's always the question when you get to a certain age, and this is Toby in middle age and 50, and her question is, what can I take from those who have come after me, actually? Like, I did this work, right? I was a
Yeah.
person, a sort of a non-binary presenting, butch person through these early years, which was a complicated time to be that. The people that came after me have moved as they do,
Mm-hmm.
moved our movement forward. And there can be, I think every older queer has the question of what's available to me, like, and am I going to see it as a gift, or am I
Mm-hmm.
going to see it as a rebuke, essentially? And I think that's Toby's question, and I think she wants to allow herself to take the gift that's been given to her by these younger generations and to do what she wants to do even though she's 50.
We haven't talked about Bex yet.
Right.
So Bex is our non-binary character who moves to town, is also a music artist, and Toby meets them and really is, you know, it's a younger generation that is doing maybe what she wanted to do. And then it almost feels like, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's like she's seeking permission from Bex to
Definitely.
allow herself to also make these considerations in life.
Definitely. And I think that so Bex is this younger character who has a relationship with a couple of the different families. And I wanted very much for Bex to be a person who Toby would see and wonder about and be curious about. And I wanted Bex to be open to all of Toby's ideas and questions, and to
Yeah.
that when Toby was essentially coming to Bex for permission, even though she didn't really want to see it that way. I wanted Bex to really be a person who would say to Toby, dude, you don't need my permission. Like you just do it. Just do it. And I think essentially because there's a conflict in many ways between Toby and her wife Evie, who does have some feelings about this next generation of queer people coming up behind her, and Toby, who wants to be sort of more open to the possibilities. And I wanted Bex to reward Toby's openness because
And they do.
yeah, and they do. Yeah.
And I think that's a really important struggle that Toby was in her journey that she was trying to make. But then we come back to being slightly complicated, where Toby feels like, I mean, they tell Mike first that they want
Yes.
top surgery before they get a chance to tell Evie. They're asking questions about it to Bex. Mike accidentally lets their mother know. And then it becomes a question and a moment with Evie.
Yeah. Yeah, Toby definitely waits too long, right?
Yeah,
Toby
a
kind
little.
of gets fast, things are moving fast in Toby's brain, and they don't really want to take Evie's desires or ideas about it into consideration. And so, which is understandable, they want to do something for themselves. And so they confide in others, which is hurtful.
It is hurtful, but then it's also there are those boundaries, right? And people that we choose or think that we're most comfortable with. And even though Evie is her person, Mike was her person first.
Of course, and is still her person. And
And yeah,
Evie can't be Evie really can't be her person for this conversation, which I think is like also really interesting and an important thing to think about in terms of a marriage. There can be deeply intimate and private questions or considerations, and your spouse isn't the person for you.
I loved that when you said that at like towards the end, that you have more than one person and how it suits your life and how these relationships are built, because everybody fits into a little piece of your puzzle in a different way.
Yeah.
And sometimes a friend is easier to say something to than the person that you are, your partner or spouse.
Absolutely. A partner or a spouse has so much invested in the choices
They
that you
do.
make.
This is true. Absolutely. Okay. Let's circle back, and I apologize because I feel like I jumped around a little bit.
No, it's fine,
Um,
Mallory.
no, to Caroline's, um, I'm so sorry, to Ruth's journey, and then going back in time and meeting Florence again.
Mm.
Florence, who was Elliot's best friend and Ruth didn't get a chance to go to the memorial. And so she reaches out to the one person she thinks might have information that she's comfortable speaking to. So she reaches out to Florence, and Florence unleashes a whole nother web to be tangled in.
Right. So, like, coming back to Ruth and sort of speaking of bad choices that she's made, it's not that it's exactly a bad choice for her to reach out to Florence, but it
No.
is that she is she's kind of grasping. She kind of doesn't know what to do. She's agitated by her daughter's sadness and anger towards her, which is a very righteous anger. And she's unsure about her, it's complicated in her house. And instead of kind of turning towards that and figuring it out, she's just kind of grasping a little bit, which makes sense. So she reaches out to Florence, someone from her past. So often when someone dies, we really do want to go back to someone in our past who knows that person or knew us when we knew that person.
Yeah, you want to live in that memory.
Yeah, exactly. And that's
In that
really what
moment.
Ruth wants to do. She wants to live in
Hmm.
it a little bit. And she really does, so in the course of her sort of she's remembering the past, and she's also engaging in this relationship with Florence, which is at first kind of like a friendly real estate consult relationship where Florence is helping her get a house that they own and
Yeah.
ready to sell. And then it devolves, not well, it evolves into us an affair.
An emotional affair. And then we have the moment where they kiss.
Yes,
And she then goes to tell Caroline.
yes, exactly. And it
And
doesn't go that well. So Ruth
it
is
doesn't go that well.
thrilled. She's having this. She's had this incredible. She's has this amazing feeling being with Florence. It's taking away all of not taking away, but it's really changing the pain that she feels and bringing her back to a self that she thought was
Yeah.
long gone. She tells Caroline, and Caroline is not impressed or excited or she doesn't agree that it's a good idea. She thinks it's just a dumb idea. And she's
Right.
mad. And Caroline's a little mad anyway because she
She was
didn't
already,
know. Yeah.
yeah.
She's already
Hmm.
mad about this other secret that Ruth had kept from her.
Right. So
Caroline doesn't trust people very easily, and she feels easily betrayed.
I could feel that.
Yeah.
A little bit of insecurity, a
Yeah.
little bit of jealousy in
Yeah.
situations. And then she takes it and she's like, well, what am I supposed to do with this now? Like, I have to tell Mike. Like,
Right.
I have to tell my person.
Right.
And then Mike is also like, why did you
Why'd
tell
you tell
me?
me? Totally.
Exactly. As like
Yes. Yes.
most situations would be. But I have to ask the question now too. Like, would you keep the secret?
Would I
Or
keep
do
this
you
secret
think,
from a friend
yeah, or
or
do you think that you would tell
my spouse?
your spouse?
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, I would tell my spouse.
I feel like I would too. I'd be like, do you know what happened today?
Yeah.
I need to share about this with you. Um, but Ruth was not expecting Caroline's reaction at
She
all
wasn't expecting it at all. She really just because Ruth's really not super in touch with reality in those moments.
in those moments. Yeah.
Yeah, she's sort of a little bit out of her mind. And so she doesn't expect that reaction. She kind of thinks that Caroline might be excited for her,
Yeah. And
or
then,
want to hear the details.
right. And Caroline's like, I want none of this.
None of this.
And it
Because a secret is a
really,
job, right? A
it
secret is a
is.
job we give people, and oftentimes you
Yes.
don't want it.
Mm-hmm. And then she's got that burden and she's living with that burden. And then she's wondering what's going to happen to her friendship because they stopped speaking for a hot second.
Right.
And how not only does it affect them, but it affects everybody because they're already all intercodependent on everybody else and intertwined
Yeah.
in the most
And it really
beautiful
affects
way.
Caroline in this very profound way, which is that Ruth's family is so important to her and
Yeah.
particularly her young son, who's
Yes.
sensitive and shy and doesn't have a lot of friends, but he's very much sort of like enveloped into the fold of this loud family that's Ruth's. And if Caroline loses that for her son, that's a huge loss.
That's the effect.
Yeah.
Um, so I thought that was just, I was like, oh, I don't know. I would definitely go home and tell my spouse, but also like if my best friend did that, I'm like, I'm going to be stuck in a really odd place.
Yeah.
um, let's talk about, I want to talk about chosen family. Let's bring it back because the end, when we have Mayday and everybody is gathered to celebrate Elliot in that moment for his 51st birthday. And it's almost a memorial for Sita. And they're allowing her to have that moment. And everybody makes the flotilla for the boats. And it's 100 boats that these children made. And the entire time that you were describing this, I was like, because they're like a family. Like, this is it. This is the moment. The title makes sense. And it's just about the people we choose to surround ourselves with.
Yeah.
And it was gorgeous.
Oh, Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It was a gorgeous, gorgeous moment. But all of the children coming together and really being those people, having Hope, Elliot's wife, there, and allowing Sita to build on that relationship and making those difficult choices too as a parent to involve all these other people and who you're going to surround your people with was just moving.
I'm so glad. Thank you. I wanted to give everyone that moment because also what I wanted so much to do in the book was to say that to have a chosen family is a beautiful thing, but it is not just good times and quality time and core memories.
No.
It is really, really a deeply held commitment that you have to other people. It is a real obligation of the heart. And I wanted to bring these people through this difficult time they had as chosen family with the idea that maybe before this moment, things had felt really just all value add, just like we're friends, it's more family, it's abundance, it's this. But at a certain point, life gets hard. And the question is, will you really stick it out and be like family to each other? And I think that was the question I wanted to ask. And I wanted them to be able to answer it, but it's not easy.
It's not easy. And at the end too, we also tie back into Marcy where we're in therapy and she's like, how are we going to explain this? They're asking, how do we explain this to the children? How do we explain Mike as a sperm donor and their relationship? And do we see him as a father figure for the twins? And how do we explain this to Luca? Which I think, they come to the realization that they waited too long to tell Luca, but the message is clear to them that family's the message. Like this is already complicated, but family is it. The chosen family or the biological family you have, you're all going to help each other, right? As you said, you're going to tolerate the discomfort of anything for your children because there's a bigger picture.
Right. And I think one of the things that Marcia says when she's trying to get them to sort of like distill is that she brings them around to this idea that it's really just about two things, which are love and care. Yeah. So that you're going to love these people and you're going to care for them. And those are the two things that are kind of just going to keep this constellation of people moving forward. And whatever these kids want to call each other and whatever they want to call you and however your relationships evolve is going to be maybe a constantly changing thing that's going to annoy you or frustrate you or disappoint you in some way. But you're going to have to hold on to those two sort of North Stars of we are here because we love each other and we're here to care for each other. And so that's what they're going to do.
It's great.
Thank you.
Okay, so that is like family. And then I had a couple questions from the chat that we can, round about here and end with. But everybody wanted to know, who are some of your favorite authors?
Oh, that's a fun question, isn't it? Well, so my all-time favorite writer is Laurie Colwin. She wrote books in the 80s and early 90s about family life and marriage, and she's extraordinary. Many of her books have been reissued in the last few years, but I really feel like I love them more than anything. I love Elizabeth Strout. I love Zadie Smith. I love Deborah Levy, who's a British writer. Aren't her new essays just extraordinary?
They were beautiful. Yeah, I just love how you did that.
I read them and then I listened to all of them because she reads them and her voice.
I didn't know she narrated. Okay.
So stunning. She's such a stunning human being. And so those are the writers who I love the most. I love Anne Enright, who's an Irish writer. I love women who write about, as I like to say, women who write about problems that are just on the other side of manageable. Like I just like a mess, but like not too big of a mess. That's my kind of guiding
a little
principle.
bit contained.
Like weekends, like this isn't apocalyptic, we're going to get through it. So that's, I just started reading The Correspondent like everyone else in the world.
Yes. Oh, wait, are you reading it or are you listening to it?
So I'm reading it, but then I've heard that listening to it is extraordinary because it's all the different voices. Is that true?
I listened to it. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
But then I'm also like, I need to be able to look at it
yeah,
because
to
I want to be
see.
able to see the correspondence.
Yes,
Um,
yes, I can
okay, so
see
that was
that.
my next question. Their last question was, what is something you haven't been able to put down recently?
Something I haven't been able to put down. Well, there's actually, it's a book that's not quite out yet, but it's a
Oh,
memoir, but it's coming out in January, written by Belle Burden, and it's called Strangers, and it's
okay.
incredible. Absolutely.
Okay.
So I would
We'll look
definitely,
forward to that.
yeah, look forward to that. I think January like 13th. So it's coming very soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Erin. This has
Oh,
been
Mallory,
such a
thanks for
pleasure.
having me. It was
I
delightful.
honestly loved it. It felt messy, like my own life, but also incredibly relatable.
Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you so much
Thank
for reading.
you.
Thanks
Thank
to
you so much. Thank
everyone.
you,
Thank
everybody,
you.
for joining us. And don't forget that you can go to all Barnes and Nobles and grab Like Family. It is our November and December book club pick.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
so much,
everybody.
Mallory.
Have the
Thanks,
best
everyone. You
day.
too. Bye bye.